Over the past few days, I've watched the One-to-One John and Yoko movie 3 times. So I do love the movie, but each time I watch it, it really socks me in the gut. And that's a good thing. And I think that that's what they wanted to do. I think they really wanted you to be immersed in the sights and sounds and smells and the feels of the early 70s and what was going on, in the world of John and Yoko. And to help them do that, they recreated their bedroom there in the village that they stayed in for about a year and a half. And it's a beautiful thing. It's like a work of art. And so you feel like you in the present. It's almost like a time capsule there, that bedroom. And it's almost like John and Yoko, they're just stepped out for a minute. They're going to be back any second now. And that's how it feels. The whole thing is just so impactful. All of the phone calls, the protests, the songs, the concert, the different people there. It's just this tapestry, this mosaic, this dirty, nitty-gritty mosaic of the early 70s. And it's like the early 70s meets John and Yoko. It's like this great mashup of all time. And like John and Yoko, they've landed there to kind of change everything. They've landed in New York, like the, Grand Central of everything that's happening, the hub of the protests and the change and what's going on and the unrest, etc. So just like John changed the 60s, he's going to be going ahead and changing the 70s. And he's the man who can do it because, for better or worse, he had that charisma, he had that charm, he had something about him that when he spoke, you listened. And to watch him on stage, it's absolutely mesmerizing because you don't know what is going to happen next? What am I going to hear next? You're just rapt, your attention is just like focused on John and like you believe and you lean into what he's saying. And everybody wants John to kind of, speak for them. Here, John, kind of lead the charge here. And it made me think of that one George Harrison quote where George says John was that guy that you would follow into war. And that is so true. John had that ability. He had that ability to affect change because of that, whatever that thing that he has, whatever that thing that he had that made people follow him. And, and that's a good thing. It's a beautiful thing. But you begin to realize in this movie with those very cool recorded phone conversations, it can also be maybe like not a very safe thing for the voice, where John is talking to Alan Klein and Alan Klein is trying to dissuade John from singing certain songs at these protests. And then there's Jim Keltner talking to John on the phone, and Jim is kind of saying like, aren't you like afraid of like what could happen at these things? And just saying, no. So, it's not dark or anything, but you're there in the 70s and there's a certain innocence there because you don't know how bad it can get, but it's getting bad. And so it's a beautiful thing to just believe in the cause and to keep on going forward. But they do kind of wise up a little bit and they don't go to that Republican convention, which is a good thing. So the whole movie is just like punching me like that with, oh my gosh, moments like that. And then, of course, the concert footage. And this is John, like at his best. John is that guy who's meant to be on stage performing and use that voice. And he is using it for change. And he's giving all the interviews and he goes on all the talk shows. Just incredible. He is just out there, spreading himself thin. I don't know. People would always say like he's lazy. Look at everything that he's doing. I don't think so. I don't think that this man is lazy one teeny tiny bit. He was a force. He was a force to be reckoned with. And so no wonder, like his phone was tapped and, the higher ups, the powers that be were a little bit afraid of people like John, and that sucks. That sucks. That's not a good thing. And I'm not saying that he shouldn't have done X, Y, or Z, but, it just sucks that this is how it was. And I got to tell you, I do feel like John would have loved the movie because it does end beautifully. John evidently did make a lot of changes. He helped. He was a force for good throughout his life. And he still continues to be so. And like I said, I do feel like John would love this movie, not just because he looked good and he sounded good, but because I think he too would have wanted to be socked in the gut with everything that was going on. He would have been just sitting there watching and listening and saying this and that and enjoying and cheering it on and laughing and everything. It's a great movie. I enjoyed being immersed in all that. It was this nitty gritty, raw, stinky, smelly, beautiful tapestry. In the end, it was a work of love, a beautiful thing. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I really appreciate it. And until next time, peace and love one another. Take care.